I would encourage parents to be patient with their children during those times that they're visiting family. It's stressful for the adults. It's also stressful for children. And I know that not everybody's family is a stressful environment, but for lots of us, there are a lot of family dynamics that go on when we all get together, and it makes it harder for us to respond in intentional and mindful ways to our children.
The dictionary defines Christmas as the annual Christian festival celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. However, many of the customs associated with Christmas, such as gift-giving, tree decorating, light hanging, and feasting, come from sources other than the church. Christmas is also a big part of people's lives this time of year, especially young children. According to a 2013 Pew Research Center survey, about 9 in 10 Americans and nearly all Christians, 96%, say they celebrate Christmas. In addition, 81% of non-Christians in the U.S. celebrate Christmas. Among Americans overall, just over half say they celebrate Christmas as more of a religious holiday, while roughly a third say it is more of a cultural holiday for them. For children, the legend of Santa and the gifts he brings plays a major role in the Christmas celebration. The buying, giving, and receiving of gifts is something children must be taught, along with numerous other family and societal traditions associated with the holiday season. On today's Sound Living, tips for helping young children understand the spirit of the Christmas holiday. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman. Without the pure joy, wonderment, and excitement of children, the holiday season wouldn't be nearly as bright. In addition to learning how to buy, give, and receive gifts, K-State Research and Extension Child Development Specialist Bradford Wiles says there's a number of life lessons that children can experience throughout the holidays.
When it comes to gift buying, gift receiving, and giving, there are a number of things that we need to think about. And the first is we're always modeling for children. We're always demonstrating that this is how you do things. So if you say things like, man, I'm spending way too much money, or you make comments about who is getting what gift and whether they deserve that gift or not, your children are going to pick up on that. And so it's really, I think if there would be one thing I could say for parents as we go into this season, is to really be mindful and really stop and think about what it is that you want to teach your child while you're going through this. It doesn't have to be a lesson every time, but just to be really aware that they're paying attention and that this is a big part of our culture in the U.S. So it's really incumbent upon us to think about our children and to teach them the lessons that we want them to practice as they become adults. So if they're going to give a gift, well, there are a few things. First, you don't tell the person what the gift is before you give it, right, for very young children. The other thing is when you're selecting a gift, you want to select a gift that the person that you're going to give it to wants, not the person that's giving it wants. And sometimes that's hard for adults even. And so, these are lessons that you can teach children and say, well, Aunt Anne doesn't really want scuba flippers. You might like the scuba flippers, but, she would really appreciate a set of coasters, right, or something to this effect. And so really working through perspective taking. Holidays can be really good about helping young children take perspective. And then when it comes to receiving gifts as well, you want them to be gracious. If they already have the gift that's been given, that's okay. They can say, I already have this, but thank you so much. I already have it because I wanted it so badly, so thank you. And generally, there's a way for families or friends to work that out, whether it's they take it back and give you something else, or you get to exchange it for a gift card or whatever it is. There are many different ways that you can work that out. And it's really just about being kind and being gracious. I mean, the idea of this season is not commercialism. It is to really be gracious and be kind to one another.
The other part of giving sometimes involves being involved in the local community. There are a number of things that children can do, and that's really kind of up to the parents to help lead them in some of those directions.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things about giving is you don't have to give a tangible gift. You can give your time. You can give things that don't seem like gifts, like canned goods. You can give toys to children that you'll never meet. And it's a really good opportunity for young children to understand if they come from a family with some privilege, that others don't have that. And it's a really good opportunity to demonstrate the spirit of giving and caring about your fellow human being. And so most children respond very well to that. It seems odd. They might think, well, I want that toy. But generally, they actually respond very, very well. They like to give to some child who really would appreciate what it is.
I can always remember my kids, even before we would get out of the car, they would see the little red bucket there for the Salvation Army, and it was like, do you have some change? Do you have some money? I want to put it in the bucket.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's so joyous for them. And it doesn't take much. I mean, you could give them 2 pennies, at a young age, and they'll be thrilled about that. And the Salvation Army is happy with that, too, because, you're building this culture of giving and caring. I would encourage adults that if their children give, they try to also give as well. Now, if you gave every time someone asked you, you'd be broke. I would be broke too. So you can be very strategic about where you give and how you give during the season and indeed all year round. It is important, though, to convey that to your children of why this time you're walking by the Red Barrel or why this time you don't have a canned good for the canned good drive, because they need to understand that we also have limited resources. We can't provide for everyone.
Provide them a little bit of perspective.
Exactly, yeah. The holiday season is all about perspective taking, right? It's about thinking about others and what they would want and the joy of giving, right? I think that sometimes we in the U.S. especially forget how really nice it is to give, and it doesn't have to be an expensive gift. It doesn't have to be even a gift at all. The gift of your presence, the gift of your time, the gift of fixing something for someone, right? I mean, so many people need simple repairs and they can't afford it or don't seek it out. What a tremendous gift to be able to give. And again, bring your child with you. Show them that you can provide these things that people need that really cost you nothing other than time. And let me just say, that's time well spent.
Most people will do some traveling over the holidays, and that presents a few challenges for parents with younger children. Also, just the family dynamics presents some problems for children. They're out of their normal routine.
Right, and you hit it on the head there. If you can keep the routine as close to your home routine as possible, you'll do the best in strange environments. We all recognize that sometimes that's not doable. The best way that you can manage all of those family dynamics and all of the things that are unknown to children is to help them understand, to give them an idea of what to expect. Now, not always do things go as we expect them, but if you are intentional about talking with your child about what to expect, how long the car ride's going to be, that your uncle might be loud and that's okay, that if your cousin is picking on you to let me know, that really helps with the children being able to understand and to know what to expect, and that reduces their anxiety and lets them actually enjoy themselves. Children are always trying to find out the things that we already know. So when we go to our families, we know what the dynamic's going to be. We know where we're supposed to sit. We know what we're going to do. We know what the activities are. Are we going to sing some song? Are we going to play football? Are we going to any of the things that families do? And so if you can, at age-appropriate levels, talk to your children about what to expect. I don't expect a 3-year-old to understand that we're going to play football and it's going to be 7-on-7 and these are the goalposts. That's beyond their developmental age. But you can say, we're going to go outside and play.
And parents should not expect the children to be perfect. They're not perfect in the home. They're not going to be perfect at grandma's or grandpa's.
Absolutely not. And in fact, this is one of the hardest things for adults because when we get around our families, we see our children as a reflection of our parenting. And while there is a small element of that, all of the structures are in place for children to not display their best behavior. All right. They have completely strange situations. They oftentimes have kids that are about the same age around, right? I mean, oftentimes cousins are essentially the same age, maybe a little bit older or younger. So they have essentially partners in crime. There's a lot less adult supervision because the adults are trying to enjoy themselves. So all of the factors are in place for children to not do well. And then we also say they're usually engaging in a lot of rough and tumble play. And as my mom used to say, it's all fun and games until somebody gets their eye poked, right? And that's really a lot of what happens, is that it escalates and escalates and escalates, and then somebody gets hurt. And you could be mindful of this, that hurt is superficial. But I would encourage parents to be patient with their children during those times that they're visiting family. It's stressful for the adults. It's also stressful for children. And I know that not everybody's family is a stressful environment, but for lots of us, there are a lot of family dynamics that go on when we all get together, and it makes it harder for us to respond in intentional and mindful ways to our children.
I know that my grandma and my aunts and my uncles got most concerned when there was quiet in the house. They knew something was wrong when the kids were quiet.
Yes, that is the time that you really need to check in on them. It is amazing to me how stealthy children can be when they're getting into something that they shouldn't. They will be loud and boisterous and making all kinds of ruckus, but if something catches their attention and one of them or more knows that they shouldn't be doing whatever it is they're doing, they will go dead silent. And that is the time that adults need to check in on them. It's amazing what they'll get into. And then keep in mind, too, that oftentimes the home that you are visiting has not been child-proofed. You know, the home that parents of young children live in has already been child-proofed, right? The hazardous chemicals are up somewhere else or locked behind a cabinet. The dog food is in a sealed container where no child can get to it. You know, not that that's super harmful, but you don't want your kid eating dog food, right? That's not, what you're after. You know, all the sharp edges, there's no glass tables around or, those kinds of things. And so that's another element, is that a lot of the places that you visit are not used to having young children. So there will be all sorts of opportunities for young children to get into things that are just not healthy for them.
One of the things that is probably the biggest, most exciting thing for the children is the spirit of Santa from an early childhood development perspective. How should we view this? Is it just something that is kind of part of our culture?
Well, I've done a lot of thinking on this, and I tend to lean very much towards you don't ever want to lie to your children. You want to be honest with them at a level that they can understand. I've come to understand that Santa and the other myths that go along with the holiday for Christians and those who celebrate Christmas is not a lie so much as it is a myth, a legend, a part of our culture. And so I've come to understand that if it were really detrimental, meaning children felt betrayed when they get older, then they themselves would not practice that. But the reality is that it is practiced, and it's practiced through generations, and it's something to be embraced and to be understood and excited about. Eventually, young children will come to understand as they grow older how much time and effort and energy their parents and their loved ones put into making their holidays special. And so this is always a challenge for children at school as well, because there will be older children. There will be those families who do not believe in deceiving children at all. And again, I try to lean away from it as deceit. Yes, there is some deceit, but it is what I would call benevolent deceit, right? It is something that is not an intentional or not a cruelty that you are enforcing. And so when adults are confronted with that, I'll just say what my mom told me when I told her that Santa wasn't real. She said, well, Bradford, if Santa's not real, then you're not going to get any more presents from Santa. I believe in Santa, and I'm 43 years old.
That's K-State Research and Extension Child Development Specialist Bradford Wiles. More information about parenting and early childhood development can be found at county and district extension offices and on the extension website, www.ksre.ksu.edu. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman, and this is the K-State Radio Network.